Ladies and gentlemen, on this Tuesday, January 20th, 2026, I, Katie Syke, Mayor Utah, call this meeting to order. This time, can we get a roll call?
Counselor Feinberg,
Here.
Counselor Duffloff,
Running late, but he will be here.
Counselor Katie McMillan,
Here.
Counselor Smith,
Here.
Counselor Dennis McMillan,
Here.
Counselor McLean,
Here.
Mayor Syke.
Here. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Nancy, how do I turn my microphone down?
And I don't think that's a bad thing, Mayor. Just saying. Said I don't think it's a bad thing.
Sound better?
Yeah, you're not-
Too quiet? Okay. Nancy said yes. Nancy, you want to turn up? Is that better? Nancy?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Moving on now for the approval of the agenda. Is there any questions on the agenda as it currently stands from council? Any addendums from staff at this time? Okay, there's nothing else to add. I'm this time looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Take your motion, be a second. Motion, please. That's what seconded. We get a roll call.
Counselor Funderburg,
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan,
Aye.
Counselor Smith,
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan,
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Thank you very much. Moving on now to, our motion carries. Moving on now to reports. Moving on to section 5.1, the urban renewal outreach summary. This is a report only. Is it, who's got?
Melissa's got lead.
Melissa, go ahead.
Yeah, so Zach and I had the opportunity to meet with the various taxing districts over the past few months just to talk about our urban renewal plans. The dialogue was really good. I felt like all of these conversations were really productive. I appreciated all of the different districts' dialogue and participation. You do have the outreach summary in your packet that was provided to you in draft form and then final form. It's a pretty long report. I didn't know if you guys wanted me to go through it or more so just answer questions. I'm happy to take whatever approach you'd like.
Before we continue, is there any questions from council of different stands?
No.
Okay. Do you want to go over the report line by line, or did everyone read it?
No.
Any questions on that? Well, I think we're good just to kind of go over it.
Okay,
If you have
yeah.
questions.
Just as far as next steps, so the district representatives have also received this outreach summary. No formal requests have been made because we are going to provide a secondary form. This is a little unique where we're talking about urban renewal and then potential mitigation. So any feedback from the districts on the urban renewal plan will come to this meeting to the urban renewal agency as far as project prioritization or comments on the specific plans. If there's any requests for mitigation measures, financial or otherwise, that mitigation would come from funds in our general fund. And so those requests will come to city council in the city council meeting. I just wanted to make the clarification that there will be a two-step process for that when we get a little further down the line.
One number that I saw that was a little bit curious about, I was looking at page 23. This is on the fire district section there, and I highlighted my concern with the 15-year total. We're looking at almost, $750,000 is their estimate, between $250,000 to $750,000. Kind of rounding that up a little bit. Diverting that away from public safety and then into paying off this urban renewal district. How are we going to make that right with the fire district?
So that was the fire district's estimate. That's actually not accurate. If you scroll down further the page, in the packet, it says 29 of 208. It's page 25 of the report.
Okay.
That has our more updated projections from our consultant. So the total foregone between east and west is actually 9.3 million. And the revenue sharing is, we're about 5.4 million. And so what's included in the packet from the fire district, as far as their request was their proposal on how we mitigate. I will say that's subject to change because we don't have any formal request yet, but I expect it to be very consistent.
So that urban renewal mitigation funding, we're giving them $500,000, is that for the totality of that 15 years, or is that going to be a one-time payment?
So in the dialogue that we had, the $500,000 annual that they would be requesting would be through the 2035 fiscal year until the revenue sharing starts from the urban renewal. Because the revenue sharing is about that same amount starting in that year.
And then, sorry, to interrupt. The revenue sharing starts in 2045?
Fiscal year 20 ending 2036. Yeah, the data centers come out of abatement in 2035 and the revenue sharing would begin in the next year. You get 63. And then in addition to the annual allocation, they've asked for assistance in acquisition of an aerial ladder truck.
The question of 500 prior to, yeah.
Just set up and talk.
Mayor Sip, I'd like to add to the record that Counselor Darren Dufflaw showed up at 6:08.
That's what I was just. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any questions from council this time with any of these items?
No, I'm having.
One final note, the last board meeting that we have not attended yet is for the mosquito district. And so Zach and I will be attending that to get a better idea of what we can expect there.
Okay. With no further questions and no deliberating on that, then push on ahead. Is there anything else from the council this time? Yeah, nothing else. We're going to move on to our public comment period. The public comment section allows community members to share their opinions, raise concerns, and provide information directly to the Urban Renewal Agency. Comments should address the urban renewal related issues and must not pertain to items scheduled for a public hearing on the same meeting's agenda. If you wish to speak, please complete the sign-up sheet, including the topic you wish to speak or wish to address. Please begin by stating your name and address. When called to the podium, speakers are allotted 5 minutes unless otherwise directed.
You have one there.
One, that would be Miss Heidi Seib.
You're all right.
Then you gotta turn it should be the other one should work. It's not gonna work.
There's a toggle.
Testing.
There you go.
Okay. Heidi Seib, representing Umatilla School District, 1001 6th Street, Umatilla, Oregon, 97882. And we're on page 7 of the report that city staff gave you. Want to say, first of all, thank you to Melissa and Zach for the opportunity to meet with them. That's something that, as you know, I've been up here advocating for a really long time, is we just want to be able to have a conversation before things happen. So thank you so much for making sure that happened. It is greatly appreciated. 2 minor pieces in there that I think are really important. I know Dave knows well, and I know it's just a typo, but if money comes to us in the form of PILT, payment in lieu of taxes, it offsets what our state school fund will pay. And so what we would need that to be is instead a grant or any outside donation. And Dave's nodding because he and I've talked to nauseam about that. I know that he knows. I just want to make sure it's on record that that's how any type of agreement would have to be structured. Otherwise, it would be just like the school support fees right now that don't actually come to benefit the school district at all. They just offset the amount that we get from the state. Yes.
So does this PILT
PILT.
go to Salem?
Yes.
Be allocated, or is it just a one for one out of?
It's just 1 for 1 out of. So we get this amount and per student, and then local revenue is subtracted, and PILT is included in local revenue. So it decreases the amount we get from the state. So if it's done in the form of a grant or a donation, we get to keep it all. If it's payment in lieu of taxes, we get to keep none in the offset. The other piece that we are asking for and absolutely understand and prioritize, because of that same factor, we benefit, or I should say, we don't suffer the ill effects that other taxing districts do when tax abatement agreements are made, because the state will keep us whole. However, if our tax base ever exceeds that amount and there hits a point where those things could, then we would. So all we're asking for is a set formula for that that's established now, because as we saw from budget last spring, when it was, yes, Heidi, you'll be able to come and you'll be able to request an amount from the budget. And I was like, okay, great. Is there a form to do that? Well, no, you just need to send an email. So I send the email, and then at budget committee, it's presented as though this is a surprise because nobody knew how to handle a request like that. So we just need to have the process, set it forth early, make it known, because otherwise those games just feel kind of gross. And I know that's not the real intention, but it's pretty tough when there isn't a process for us to follow, and then we're in trouble for not following the process. It just doesn't work. And then the last piece is the only other thing that we've asked for is the roughly $200 and some thousand offset, because the sidewalks up on South Hill weren't started until July for our school. And so we can't, with any level of conscience, ask kids to be walking up Power Line or walking across many of the neighborhoods in South Hill because they're just not safe. And so instead, we've been transporting kids via bus. But that amount to us this year is an unexpected $200,000 budget hit that we simply can't afford to keep doing forever. We're trying to be good partners. We don't want to have to send the type of letter that says, hey, parents, we're sorry, we can't do this anymore. You're gonna have to go talk to the city about it. Like, we would not try to do that. That's not a good partnership. But at the same point, it's also not good partnership for us to say like, hey, this is what we need. We understand things can be delayed, but we need some help in offsetting this. We paid our developer fee. All those houses paid their developer fee. I'm assuming Amazon paid a developer fee. So why aren't those things done in the time that the school was completed? Or could we get some partnership on that? We wouldn't even need the full 200,000 because some of that could be reimbursed because of the waiver we got from the state, but we just need that amount offset. So that's it. Just want to make sure that you see that on page 7. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you for allowing dialogue ahead of time. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you. Okay, moving on now to our new business item for tonight, 9.1. The election of the Urban Renewal Vice Chairwoman. At this time, is there any questions or deliberations on this from council, staff, anything like that at this time? No? Okay. I'm looking for a motion, if there's any motions on the field.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we appoint Bruce McLean to serve as the Urban Renewal Agency Vice Chair.
Thank you for that motion. Looking for a second for the motion, please.
I'll second.
I'll second that. Thank you, Mr. DeFall. Motion to first and seconded, looking for a roll call this time.
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Dufflock.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye. I'm not sure you can vote on your own vote. Vote on now to 9.2, the motion does carry, the East Umatilla Urban Renewal Plan and Report staff. Melissa again, or is it Dave?
It'll be all of us. We'll have Melissa introduce, excuse me, Elaine, and then, we'll go from there. Give us a moment just to get it queued up on the screen.
Scott, get to speak to.
Probably not. Well, unless you have questions about specific projects, then he definitely would.
I'll find one.
All right.
All right, we pulled up. All right, so we have Elaine Howard with us tonight. You guys have heard from Elaine a couple times now as we work through urban renewal. So we appreciate her for joining us. On your agenda tonight, you have two different items. That is because we are proposing two different urban renewal areas, the East Umatilla Urban Renewal and the West Umatilla Urban Renewal. And so we have one presentation really that will look at both. What we have included in your packet tonight is draft plans. I will note that we are still working through some funding scenarios, and we can talk about that a little bit more tonight. So what you're seeing here isn't the full comprehensive final document, but it is some pretty strong draft, and we're looking for feedback to make sure we're on the right track. So Elaine, if you want to get us started.
Sure. And I just want to note that I am having a bit of a hard time hearing you. So if anybody talks, if you can make sure that you talk directly into your microphone so that I can hear you, that would be great. And can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So their action requested of the agency tonight is just to review with us components of both the East and the West urban renewal plans, and then to reconvene on February 17th, to 2026, obviously, to continue that review. And at that point, we will have more information on the financial components of the plans. So tonight, really what we're looking at are the goals and objectives, the boundary, the projects, and what we would call a vanilla financing plan. That is the first step in creating a real finance plan. But by the next meeting on February 17th, we will have a financing plan that is more refined to your specific situation. Next slide. So the process for approval of any urban renewal plan is outlined in the ORS 457. It includes these steps. So first, to have the agency review the documents. So this meeting, February meeting, if we need another meeting after that, we'll have to talk about that timing. And then the agency passes a motion or a resolution telling us to go through with these next steps. The next steps are the formal consult and confer with the taxing districts. So it's actually sending them a copy of each plan and report and identifying where they will find the impacts to the taxing districts, where to find the list of the projects. And they get a 45-day period from the receipt of the plan and report to provide formal comments to the city council. So they actually give those comments to the city council for their review upon the reviewing the ordinance to potentially adopt those plans. The next step is a planning commission review for conformance of the urban renewal plans with your comprehensive plan. a briefing to the county commission. The county commission does not have any required action unless there are properties that are unincorporated within the boundary of the plan area. And then a city council hearing. To do that hearing, you have to have notice of the city residents, so it's a citywide notice, either through utility bills, postal patrons, voter registration, and you can pick which one of those avenues you want to give that notice. And then having a city council hearing, a review of a non-emergency ordinance to actually adopt those plans. It is at that point that the city council will formally respond to any of that input from any of the taxing districts. So the taxing district input will come in, staff will be able to review that to see what they can do to make sure everybody is on board. And then the city council actually will make those final decisions and put their stamp of approval on the plans, the reports, and any potential mitigation. Next slide. Next, okay. So the proposal to look at are two separate urban renewal areas, each with a maximum indebtedness of $77,898,370. The reason we have done it this way is if you have a limitation, statutory limitation based on certain parameters. And if we just did one large urban renewal area, we would still have that limitation of 77, almost $78 million. If we're doing two areas, that limitation is per urban renewal area. So by splitting this into two urban renewal areas, we're able to gain your access to an additional almost $78 million. So that is why there are two separate areas instead of one urban renewal area. Next slide, please. So we'll talk about the East Urban Renewal Area first. This is the proposed boundary for that area. It is outlined in that kind of lavender, and you can see some of those roads are also outlined. And those roads are outlined to either include road projects or to get us to other parcels. Each urban renewal area boundary has to be discrete. It cannot overlap the other urban renewal area. So in figuring out these boundaries, we had to look both at what projects were wanted in each area and making sure that those boundaries don't overlap. Next slide. The acreage on the east area is about 429 acres. The present assessed value, and this is the figures that came out in November of 2025 from the assessor's office, is $5,524,753. The projected time frame of the east area is 16 years. And the maximum indebtedness again is that 77,898,370. That maximum indebtedness is the total amount of money that you are allowed to spend on projects, programs, and administration of the area. It does not include, if you take out any bonds or loans, it does not include the interest that's charged on any bond or loan payments. So if indeed we come back in February with a program that shows bond and loan payments, that the impacts to the taxing districts will increase. The amount of money that you have to spend on projects, programs, and administration will stay the same at this approximately $78 million. Just in terms of thinking about time frame, typically urban renewal areas that I work on have time frames of 25 to 30 years. You're projected to be able to close down this urban renewal area in 16 years because of the amount of money that would be coming into the area from the developments that are now on enterprise zone exclusions, tax exclusions. So I don't know if anybody wants to go back and look at that boundary after looking at the facts. So why don't you check to see if you want to do that? And if not, proceed to the next slide. Next slide, please.
Can you hear us?
I don't see it moving on my end.
She can't hear us.
She can't hear us, hold on.
One moment. Elaine, can you hear us?
Um,
Elaine, can you hear us now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, sorry, we made an adjustment on the auxiliary cable here. Mayor, can you ask your question again, so Elaine?
Yeah, so Elaine and staff, I've got a quick question. So my concern is that the assessed value of the data centers went down. Because they removed equipment and that equipment dollar figure reduced. With that 16-year estimation, if Amazon decides that they're going to pack up shop and move all of their, internal components of that assessed value out, what would happen to that year and what would happen to the general outline of that if that were to occur?
That's an excellent question, because the whole success of both of these urban renewal areas is based on Amazon not moving out. If they move out, or they move a substantial amount of their equipment out, your financial projections change dramatically. So your success is tied to them not moving out.
What guarantees do we have with Amazon that they're gonna stay longer than 16 years?
So I can speak a little bit to what we saw as far as the reduction. So they just swapped their servers out for AI servers, so they didn't need quite as many, but they definitely were not planning on pulling out of PDX two. They actually have plans to expand the PDX 63 campus currently, and so the likelihood of them moving, I believe, is very, very, very slim, given that they're still investing in that particular campus.
Like, how long has Amazon been in this region and Umatilla at least?
I believe contracts were negotiated before I started around 2010, I think.
Okay, so they've been here for 15 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No? Council, any further questions?
No.
No, no.
Move on to the next one. You're there.
These are the goals for the area. The goals are basically tied to the project list, what your goals cover. This one is goal number 2. Goal number 1 was economy. And it was, there they go, thank you, to provide for the economic diversification and stability of the area, to support development in the area by assisting in financing and provision of transportation and public infrastructure improvements, and to remove barriers to development and redevelopment in the area. Next slide. Goal 2 is transportation, to encourage development of a transportation network that provides for safe and efficient multimodal transportation for vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists, and encourages the redevelopment and development of parcels within the area. Objectives: provide transportation improvements to support a multimodal transportation network, and provide sidewalk and streetscape improvements to enhance the area and provide access and safety. Next slide, please. Infrastructure, upgrade infrastructure to support economic activity in the area. Objectives: to install water and sewer infrastructure And then goal 4, recreation facilities to provide recreational opportunities in the area, objectives to construct improvements to enhance recreational facilities and public spaces. Next slide. This is the project list put into categories and by potential phasing. So looking at this list, when you look at the total, we talked about the maximum indebtedness of the area being about 78 million. You can see that the total here is 259 million. It exceeds the 78 million for 2 reasons. You may not do any projects using tax increment money unless it is a project identified in the plan. So if you identify all of these projects from your capital improvement plans, you may spend money on any of them, but you don't have to pay for the full amount of that improvement. So if you're able to get funding from another source, from any state monies or federal monies or grants, you can use urban renewal to leverage those other funds to actually do the projects. So this project list exceeds the amount that you have authority to spend, but it is anticipated that you will be able to match this money to other money. The one thing to make sure you note is we've divided it into transportation, utilities, parks, and recreation by different years. And we've also added an administration staffing line item so that your city can pay for the actual administration of this area. This is a project list, but none of these numbers are set in concrete. So if you find that the administration of the area, because you are undertaking large projects, costs more, you're allowed every year when you go through your budget process to adjust numbers so that you're able to go ahead and implement the plan. As you adjust those numbers, you always want to know where you're taking money from. So if you're not spending money on, if you're spending more money on administration, then you're spending less money on something else. So it needs, we always recommend that it is a process where you know what is being reduced. But just to let you know, we just have to make sure that the plan is financially feasible when you adopt it. But everything in it in terms of the financing and priority of projects, what order they come in, is something that you can address every year as you go through your budget process. Next slide.
David, real quick before we continue, can you go back to that slide? There's a typo on that. So for phase 2, and thank you, Councilor McMillan, that total, should be 62 million. That doesn't add.
If there's a typo on that, if somebody just wants to write down what that is and give it to me tomorrow, I can fix it.
Yeah, it's a typo, right? Okay, yeah. Thank
I
you.
think it was a sum issue.
So in the financing plan that's in the plan and report at this point, it doesn't anticipate taking out any loans, and it doesn't anticipate any leverage of funds. So if you look at that $78 million plus administration, these are the priority projects that money could go towards given that $78 million. So Columbia Boulevard, Willamette to US 730, Columbia Boulevard, US 730 intersection improvements, Columbia Boulevard reconstruction, golf course industrial wastewater diversion and pond expansion, Hash Park Sports Complex, a new 800,000 gallon golf course reservoir, Willamette Street reconstruction, and a new golf course clubhouse. Obviously, we have a lot more projects within the plan than this. So this just shows you if we're not able to leverage, and if these remain the priorities, this is what you could accomplish. Next slide. Your financial projections are based on the Amazon PDX 63 coming on the property tax rolls in fiscal year 2034-35, and that the east area would receive approximately 60% of that value. So the earlier question about what if they do something different is it's kind of the elephant in the room. Yes, if they do something different, everything changes.
What's the consequence if it does change? I mean, what happens? Do we go bankrupt? Like, what's the next steps? If that's 60% of it, even if they decrease it by half, let's say that turns into 30%, what happens then?
I don't know if you want to take a first stab or I can go. Did you hear the question? I'm sorry.
Is that question to me?
To anyone on staff, if you want to answer that, that'd be great.
I didn't, I'm really sorry. I was in a meeting earlier and I could hear people, but I did not hear the question. So if it's to me, if you could repeat it, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, what happens if Amazon does go away? If this fails, what happens to the city? Do we go bankrupt? Do we have to pay this back? How does this indebtedness work?
If you take out loans before the Amazon project comes online, those loans would, and your staff can jump in here, would probably be backed by the full faith and credit of the city. So if you undertook projects that you didn't have money for or took out loans or bonds, then the city would be responsible. And so probably Dave or Melissa should jump in here and talk about that if you want to at this point.
Sure, yeah, so some of the financing structures that we're looking at, obviously the majority of the value doesn't come into the urban renewal area until that 2035 fiscal year. But there are a lot of projects on this priority list that we're hoping to accomplish sooner than that. The roundabout at Powerline and 730, we're contractually obligated to complete before then. And so we are exploring the possibility of using full faith and credit bond issuances to be able to complete those projects earlier. What that would mean is the city would do the full faith and credit bond issuance. We could potentially structure that debt such that we had lower or interest-only payments up front, and then would inflate those payments once the TIF revenue started coming in. Ultimately, all of these projects are in our capital improvement list. The city, if urban renewal area was not formed, the city would need to pay for these projects. Any portion of water or wastewater related projects that we were to fund with full faith and credit, if something happened, we would ultimately need to look at the revenue of our water and sewer funds to help or use general fund dollars. Ultimately, the risk is on the city's general fund, but we believe that risk to be very, very low.
Okay.
This is the last slide on the east area. So if you have any other questions about the east area, this would be a great time to deal with those.
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay. The west area boundary is shown here. And again, it is distinct from the east area. I'll just leave that up because I can do the facts while we're looking at that boundary. It is 417 acres. The assessed value is presently 4,950,327. The projected time frame of this is 17 years, so 1 year longer than the east boundary. And that's because it has a little bit smaller percentage of the Amazon property within its boundary. And again, the maximum indebtedness projection is the same $77,898,370. Next slide. And we can just go past that, yeah. So the west area goals and objectives are the same as the east, except under transportation. We have added parking lot improvements, and under infrastructure, we have added provide power, telecommunications, and fiber undergrounding. So though, because there are projects that tie to those specific activities. Next slide. This is the list for the west area that's similar to the east area list, and you can see that it also totals more money than the amount of money that we have, so $275,000, $1 million, excuse me. And then it's also divided into phases, and again, with the same caveat that all of these things can be changed as you implement the plan. Next slide. This has a little longer list of those projects that could be accomplished because these projects are a little less expensive than the projects in the east area. And so I won't read all of these, but you can see that they are the mainly transportation projects, except you do have community garden, fishing pier replacement, but the rest are pretty much transportation kinds of projects. Excuse me. The West area financial projections are, again, based on that Amazon PDX 63 coming on the property tax rolls, and that the West area would receive 40% of that value as the East area is receiving 60% of the value. Next slide. There are limitations, statutory limitations on the amount of assessed value and acreage within urban renewal in any city. You may have up to 25% of your assessed value and 25% of your acreage. Given the acreages of these two urban renewal areas, you are at 24.67%. So that means two things for you. It means, number one, that at this time, if you adopted both of these plans, you really can't add any acreage to either of the plans. If in the future your city acreage grows, you have a little more capacity for that 25%. So that gives you a little more breathing room to potentially add. But you're really kind of set at this point if you adopt these boundaries for these two areas. On the assessed value limitation, those are very low now because that Amazon property doesn't show up on the assessed value of either of these districts. So you're at 1.11%. If and when that assessed value of the Amazon property comes online, these will be totally different amounts, and you will still have to say for any future additions or changes under that 25% amount. So you really wouldn't be able to add any more property with assessed value in the future once that Amazon comes on. Next slide.
Elaine, quick
Yes.
question, if I might. So the acreage calculation for the acreage in the city, is that UGB acreage or acreage inside the city?
That's, Zach provided me with that acreage, and that is acreage within the city, I believe. And if Zach's there, if he could confirm that.
Yes, that's.
Whoa,
Oh.
technology's not.
My microphone.
Here you go. Let's share.
You back then personality.
Yes, that's correct.
That's the limits of the city.
So the potential next steps are to have an agency meeting again in February to review the financial analysis more in depth with the consideration of potential borrowing, and the full plan and reports change to have that assumption folded into the financial analysis. At that point, the agency will decide whether they want to go along with those next steps that follow. And that again is the consultant confer with taxing districts, planning commission, county commission, and city council hearing and review of non-emergency ordinance. So that is my presentation, and I'm happy, and I know staff is, to answer any other questions.
Any questions from council?
No, I think, we went through a lot of steps to talk about this, so I mean, I'm pretty clear about it. And personally,
So if I can, just have a couple follow-up questions, for mayor and council. So, a lot of questions on the, or heard a couple questions on the risk associated with, I mean, admittedly, this is sort of an eggs all in one basket sort of, approach. If you look, what makes our, proposal for these urban renewal plans quite unique is that most of the time you designate an area for the plan. You take out some levels of debt to invest, to put in the infrastructure. Here, but that's not on the tax roll. And so on one hand, I think it's a pretty fair argument to state that the risk of the sort of, if they build it, they will come is gone. It's already here. And Melissa made the point now that that facility, PDX 63, has been here since, I believe, 2019. And they're actually getting ready to turn in. There's 4 buildings on that campus right now. They have building permits, plans submitted for a building permit to add a 5th building on that same campus. We haven't seen Amazon in particular in either Morrow County or Umatilla County move on from their buildings to get to these facilities built. It's about 5 years in the making on the land use side of things, with as well as a year or 2 of negotiations on the enterprise zone before they actually move forward with the construction and getting them built. And so the main question on the racks and servers, the personal property located within the facilities, that is certainly something we've seen that's much more volatile as far as making a estimate as to what's going to happen with the assessed value. And as the market continues to, and then the industry for that matter, continues to develop and advance, I think that'll continue to see levels of volatility. You're going to see, they need more energy to run AI-powered servers, but those AI-powered servers are much more robust and powerful, so they don't need as much space. So just think about 10 years ago, 20 years ago, how big these machines were. It's the same sort of concept. They keep getting smaller and smaller, but more powerful. The same thing's going to continue to happen in the data centers. So, but the facility itself, the actual brick and mortar that's there, that's not really going anywhere. And when the assessor comes up with the assessed value for those properties, they take into account the footprint, the site, the actual building, and then the type of use and zoning that goes along with it. So when I was in Eugene, we had a company called Hynix, which was a semiconductor company. It was a subsidiary of Samsung. They made all the microchips that went in your phones. They did go out of business. They left about 1,200 jobs left Lane County. It was a really, really big deal. And all the equipment came out of it. But the brick and mortar building itself, they were still paying the taxes associated with that, but all the sort of guts on the inside were gone. And in their case, that was about a 30-70 split. For us here, this is a little anecdotal, but it's about an 85-15 split. We get about 15% of that AV from each of these buildings come from the equipment inside of it, and about the rest of it is the brick and mortar itself. So we don't have a very clear specific answer, but there is absolutely associated risk. I want to be quite clear that that is true. But they continue to, so far, there continue to be long-term investments in these facilities, and trying to get them up and running and operating is certainly quite difficult. We have hundreds of millions of dollars of investment in infrastructure in the region. Those are, each campus is about a $2 billion investment. And so it's a lot to sort of quote, walk away from if they were gonna do that, but there's certainly inherent risk with it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we have here that's economic analyst, so nobody has a crystal ball that's gonna say it's going away or staying, or whatever the case may be. When I see them, initial conversations, they have 100-year commitment to our region, so we're just getting started, in my opinion. Secondly, by us doing this, if you build it, they will come. So by us doing all the small things, using this money, it's only going to create more opportunity for other businesses, other developers to come in. Once we start adding the developments, once we start adding all the infrastructure that's needed for other projects, it's only going to make it more viable that we're going to have other people come in. So it's not only about relying upon the Amazon dollars, in my opinion, it's on us building an economic structure through our infrastructure and everything else, and making things available that is only gonna make it more valuable. Hence, Wanapa Road, there's a very valuable piece of land that was nothing before. Now you have all the infrastructure right there, it's worth a lot more. So consequently, I think if you build it, they will come. And I think if we continue down this road, it's only gonna make it more valuable. That's just my opinion. Are we hedging our bet? Yeah. But in the same sense, we're investing in the future of Umatilla, and we've never done that really. So let's look forward and do that.
Any further questions from council at this time? Okay, at this time, we're looking for a motion for, we combine them, we just make one motion for all the agenda items. You want them separate? Then wait 2 minutes.
Yeah, originally I had a motion to call another meeting, but after that we added the actual calendar. So I don't think that we need any formal action tonight. We'll just plan to continue this at the next meeting in February.
Moving on now to then, agenda item 9.4, approval of the Urban Renewal Agency annual calendar. Any questions on that from council? Any addendums or presentations from staff on this? Matches city council schedule.
It does add the February 17th meeting that wasn't on your initial council calendar, but so if you approve it, you'll be able to update there.
Okay. Any questions from council this time? With no questions, I'm looking for motion as per stands.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the Urban Renewal Agency annual calendar.
Take your motion, get a second motion, please.
I'll second that motion.
Get a roll call.
Counselor Funderburk,
Aye.
Counselor Duffloff,
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan,
Aye.
Counselor Smith,
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan,
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Have it. Moving on now to journey this meeting of the urban renewal. Looking for motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn the Urban Renewal meeting.
Thank you for your motion. Get a second motion, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call?
Counselor Funderburk,
Aye.
Counselor Duffloff,
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan,
Aye.
Counselor Smith,
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan,
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene at 7 for our regular schedule.